Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Unknown Comics Podcast, episode 70. 70. That's
69 was better.
Well, that was last week. Can't stay there forever. All right. Well, we've got a fun one tonight. We've got props. So if you're watching the video version, you'll see some cool stuff. If you're listening to the audio version,
we'll tell you about it.
We'll tell you about it and try to describe it as much as humanly possible. We have a gigantic bag of cardboard circles that is freaking heavy.
There's some metal ones in there too.
Yeah, and there's probably some plastic ones too, huh?
Yeah.
Just heavy, chunky plastic. Chris, what do we got going on at the store this week?
Really cool exclusives from David Akiyama coming out tomorrow for Amazing Spider-Man 21. Next part in the series of our Color Bleeds. I actually haven't made the schedule yet for next week because I failed on that today. So you'll find out tomorrow what's coming out next week or Friday, whenever you watch this.
What? The Lobos cover is pretty awesome too.
Yeah, the Amazing Spider-Man Lobos cover is also a really good cover. It's got a little Mary Jane Venom action. As far as what's going on, we have a lot of older warehouse cleaning we're doing this week. Darren's been doing a lot of going through and finding things and more things and more things and more things.
When the boss is back in town, the warehouse gets rooted through.
Yeah, he's been clearing out short boxes of crap like crazy. So be watching for any sales like that. He's had a few of those on our Whatnot channel, and then of course also we've been putting some of those up on our website as well. So
but it's making a dent though, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean,
you couldn't even tell I touched the warehouse.
I asked the question. Chris says yes, it's making a dent.
Well, I'm thinking
Darren's like no.
I'm thinking about even here, right? Because he's clearing out our library in the back.
Yeah,
our old library. So
we're adjusting our library like to the version up here. So we have right now currently like 3 libraries sitting here.
Yeah,
and so I'm just clearancing off all the old library, and because it would take hours upon hours, or I could just make some money and sell it.
Yep, there you go. I mean, it makes you no money sitting on a shelf.
Correct.
So there you go.
Yes, keep up with that. A lot of old weekly books too are popping up on there that we're finding that we have some older Spawn books, older David Nakayama weekly stuff,
Timeless variants from 2021. Hopefully
we'll find some of those cool lenticular things and other foils. So we're gonna keep all that stuff up. So just keep an eye out on the app. You can get the app on the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store, or of course our website unknowncomicbooks.com.
Speaking of the app, that's all fixed, right?
Yep, the app is up to date. If you're an Android user or an Apple user and it hasn't been working, you may have to manually update it. Even if your settings are set to manually update, you may still have to go in there and do it physically. So just check it in the App Store and it'll tell you.
Yeah.
It's ready to rock and roll.
All right, Darren. I know you've been here this week, so that predicates a lot of stuff. But did you do anything geeky this week?
What we doing? What movie we watch?
New M. Night Shyamalan movie.
What's that called?
Knock on the Cabin.
Knock on the cabin. Yeah. Knock on the cabin door.
And Shyamalan's hit or miss with me.
It was middle ground. Like, it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't amazing.
Yeah.
I didn't mind it. Like, the storytelling was okay. My only problem with M. Night Shyamalan movies is the way he tells the story. It's so slow. Like, the conversation, back when Signs and Unbreakable and all that came out, it was really cool.
It was novel.
But it's been 20 years. Like, we can just be normal now. It doesn't have to be like that. But it was a good movie. I have dug through the warehouse. And most people, like most nerds, that would be like their dream job is to dig through all this stuff. I am so tired of building mystery boxes right now.
Yeah.
I have built hundreds of short boxes and things. And I don't mind. Like, we've been on Whatnot. I mean, I've done Whatnot 3 times a day. All but one day this week. I've done, I'm just kind of over comics right now. Like, I'm like, God, every time I come here, like, I hate this place. By the time I leave, I'm like, because, I feel guilty because I live in Florida.
Yeah.
And so when I'm here, like, I put all of the hours. And Kevin, bless his heart. You know, Kevin's our older brother. If you don't know that, he works here now as well. The warehouse is the scariest place outside of a dark church. Like the other night, I literally had to go pee so bad. And I really have to think through, do I want to go? I don't know how to turn the lights on the other side of the building where the bathrooms are. And so, like, I was walking to the bathroom, and the hairs on the back of my neck stood up. And, like, I go from a gentle walk to a very fast pace. And I'm like, I just left the bathroom light on, so there was some kind of light when I jogged out of the bathroom to go back into the light. That place freaks me out.
It freaks me out during the day.
So Kevin's been going with me every single night and just sitting in the warehouse with me, so I'm not there by myself. Because he's also afraid of that place.
Yeah.
And so I'm living the dream of dealing with comics, which to me is just at this point this is day 6.
Yeah.
My whole week has been off because I started working on Sunday because I arrived on Saturday. And I'm just beyond, I'm ready to be done with these bundles. Like, I have to come back. At the beginning of March, I come back, but we have to be prepping for conventions.
Yeah.
But I also got to prep this new Clayton Crane bundle, which is next on the bundles to be done. So I got to come back and do that.
Still available.
Not many more. I think we're, almost 80% sold out. So I think there's 100 left.
Yep.
So if you do the math, you now know there's 500 of them in total.
Nice.
So we're at 80% or so sold out. And then we have one more sale to get through, which was the one that was like January 27th through the whatever. And then we're pretty much caught up on all of our sales. We'll have 125 shipped on Monday and beyond to February. So,
and then convention season begins.
We have so much to do in a short period of time.
Yeah, it's weird because it's like literally within 4 weeks, it'll be like more than 25% of our entire year shows.
Yep.
Yeah.
We have Planet in Mexico where we're just going to be art reps. And then we have MegaCon and C2E2, which are full-blown setups. They were our 2 biggest shows outside of New York last year on the same weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have London. So we'll be in Mexico, London, Kansas City, Orlando, and Chicago, all inside of 4 weeks.
Yeesh.
And then there's like a 2-month gap of nothing.
Yeah.
Well, we may do Vegas, I think. But
I think we're going to do Vegas at the end of April. And then we have Heroes in Dallas, and then San Diego. And then right now we have like the X-Men experience, which I'm so excited for.
Are you going with him to that?
I haven't decided because it's also like right around the Great American Beer Festival that my other friend wants me to go to, and
This could be the only time this happens.
I get that, and I want to go to both, but I only have so much time budget, both in work
you
and.
can get beer everywhere.
But it's not the Great American Beer Festival.
Does it happen every year?
Yes.
Does it have a track record of happening every year?
I know. Hang on. Y'all talk amongst yourselves.
He's leaving.
He left.
Well, audio.
Oh, okay.
Okay, bye.
So I'm
okay, bye.
you know,
electrocuted?
and then we have New York Comic Con, and then I actually just set up Sabine and Ron Leary for Cowtown at the end of September in Fort Worth.
Oh, before New York.
Yeah, it's like 2 weeks before. So we'll be doing huge signings at MegaCon because we have 7 artists, so that'll be fun.
Mm-hmm.
And so the traveling schedule is going to get crazy. The ability to get signatures. We have convention exclusives
For both shows.
that are fixing to roll out. We have our first Marvel foil that we should be able to be announcing next week.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's 2023 is going to be crazy. We're going to do a lot of cleaning. We're going to do a lot of reorganizing. We've been restructuring, and we're going to roll out pretty heavy this year, same as we did last year in the convention season. So,
Awesome.
and we're adding Jay Anacleto to our lineup for Unknown Artist Alley.
Nice.
Pretty excited. He got a visa approval last week.
He'd be
Sweet.
here.
Sweet. All right, Chris. What were you into this week?
So, of course, it's kind of popular right now, this new slap chop painting style for miniatures. I played with that a little bit.
He is about to make a freaking loud crash sound.
It's going to take some time to learn, but it's been pretty cool. So I've been playing with that and working on some other models, things like that. But that's outside of The Last of Us, and of course, Star Wars yesterday finally explained stormtroopers.
Yeah, I have not watched them yet.
So I won't spoil it for you, but of course the
basically,
Emperor does
I'm-
his thing and makes sure that everything goes his way, like he did for a couple of decades.
I'm finally getting the answers that I was hoping for.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Yep.
Good.
Yeah, I could understand. Like I was wondering, I was like, okay, they're going to do 2 episodes this week, and for sure it made sense to do both those episodes back to back.
Oh boy, I don't think that's going to happen. For our audio listeners, Darren is attempting to put on a power glove.
I hope you don't tear up the $50 glove that's over here.
So we'll get into this in a second, but Darren bought some things today.
Yeah, well, that'll be our main thing.
Oh, that's rad.
I was wondering if it would
That's-
fit an adult hand.
That's the most rad
Now
thing.
and now I know.
It's not. It's not even on camera. Oh my gosh! I didn't even like.
Do you feel like you're in that Ready Player One right now?
Did he have a power glove in Ready Player One? I don't remember that. Oh my gosh.
So Brandon, what were you into this week?
Well, let's see here. We did not watch Bad Batch. I'm 2 episodes left on Picard.
I did watch another one the other day.
That's a freaking weird season. So I'm trying to get ready for 2 weeks from now, when the new season premieres. Which, I mean, from what I'm told, I really probably don't even need to watch this to kind of lead in. Because season 3 is going to be such a departure from the rest of the seasons, from what I've heard.
Not only that, but I think season 2 and season 1 stand pretty alone.
Yeah, they do. I mean, there's some information that you'd kind of be lost on
Mm-hmm.
when season 2 starts. But okay. I'm just over fixing the timeline stories. Like it's
Which is where we're at in this one.
it's done. Season 2, that it's a fixing the timeline story. We had the biggest fixing the timeline story in the Infinity Saga, a couple years ago. Like since Back to the Future in 1985, that is like a trope of every science fiction that I'm just like, all right, let's stop fixing the timeline.
We still have Flashpoint, which resets
Uh,
the universe.
It's not going away. I know it's not. And with the MCU going into multiverse, I mean, I know that's not timeline, that's different, but it's gonna have aspects of that, right? We've got freaking Kang the Conqueror coming, who is the biggest timeline jumper ever,
Yeah, there's
which
definitely going to be some aspects.
I'm excited that that's coming next week. Like audio people they're lucky that they don't have to.
Where's my camera?
I saw a thing today that Patrick Stewart is now on standby to be reprise his role in Deadpool 3.
Wouldn't surprise me.
I mean, but what does that
Give him the
mean?
chair.
But what does that mean, really?
Just
He
means
maybe-
he holds the record again.
Well, I mean, it'd be him and Hugh Jackman together because they'd both be in that movie.
Yeah, but
They both
Patrick still
appear in
has
this-
one extra because he used in
Well,
Strange.
it's from beginning to end. That's all that matters. Because
Yeah.
technically, Hugh Jackman's been in more movies than Xavier has.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess like
Which-
First Class would be in there as well, huh?
Well,
Yeah.
First Class and
Well, you'd have Logan. He wasn't in Logan.
no,
I mean not Logan.
The Wolverine.
Origins, yeah.
Origins and the Wolverine.
Yeah. So I mean, technically, Hugh Jackman's reprised more times, but
Yeah.
it just means that. Well, I think they're also considering the dude's 82 years old.
Oh yeah.
They're like, yeah, you're on standby.
No,
We'll check on you in 2 years. Thanks.
They're like hey, please sign this so we can get a sound alike to pretend to be you and a deep fake
Right.
artist, because we don't want.
What do you think about that with Harrison Ford too coming on as General Ross?
Yeah.
Could they not have picked maybe another guy that's not got one foot in the grave?
No, I just
I mean that nicely, but
Yeah.
he went from one old guy who passed away to another guy who's older
and I know it's just
who wrecks planes.
it's got to be just the fact that old is a lot older than it used to be. I can when I was a kid and 50 and 60-year-olds, it was like they were already looking pretty old at that point.
Yeah.
It's just like it's changed now. I mean, where people are living a lot longer and you just don't look that old until you're really, really old now. So I mean, it's just half the MCU is in their 50s.
yeah. I mean, both our grandparents passed away at 72 and 74, so, and they looked every bit the part. Like, they got the little electro chairs, and once those happened, it was like death was ticking.
It's the countdown. The final
Awesome. Both my parents are in their mid-70s, so, you know.
countdown.
Tick, tick, tick.
My wife's grandparents, all 4 of her grandparents lived into the late 90s. I'm like, so basically based on family history, I'm going to die in like early 70s, and my wife's going to get another 20-year marriage in.
I mean, it just, for me, I'm okay living that long as I'm not old. You know what I mean? Like, as long as I can still
Capable.
function, and like I'm all there. But if I'm any form of just like bedridden or brain dead, like I just let me go. I'm done. Okay, so tonight our main topic, and this was predicated on a purchase Darren made today of just random 90s geek stuff. So real quick,
So this lady,
I apologize for everybody with all the sounds that are happening right now as we dig through all this stuff.
one of our employees came in the back and said, "Hey, there's this lady with all this stuff, and she has no idea what any of it is, and she just wants to know if you can tell her what it's worth."
So I'm assuming this was like her son's?
Yeah, I think so.
Son or grandson?
It was her son's, because her son is actually younger than I am.
Okay.
Because I said, this is all the stuff for my generation.
Real quick, though, so audio people know, just click the trigger. Yeah, that's the sound.
Literally, the 90s walked in. Late
Yeah.
80s, early 90s.
So audio listeners, Chris is holding a binder pages of Pogs.
Yeah, and these are like actually made for Pogs,
Yeah, and
which is just so crazy.
and Darren is holding the NES Zapper whilst wearing the Power Gloves.
The slammer. Oh, they've got the Pog
So
cases.
the bag,
Show and tell.
the bag that the Pogs came in.
God.
Oh wow, that is Beavis and Butthead Pogs.
Yeah, there's a lot of them in here.
This just got super 90s real quick.
Yeah, that's why there was a slammer in here that was like holographic, but like 3D thing. I was like, it's the 90s and one little thing. All the 90s.
So our main topic tonight is what it was like to be a geek in the 80s and 90s. And I have an actual discussion, but for now we'll do show and tell.
So I have to ask Brandon, what was your first game system?
These are
First
dated.
game system?
1993.
So now,
By the way, Pogs were currency in middle school for me. Were they
Yeah,
currency
I mean,
for
for
you?
a lot
yeah,
of people.
they were. I didn't get into them like other kids did.
Do not slam those. Brandon will cut you.
Gosh, the noise coming over the mic right now.
You guys are enjoying it. It's part of the experience.
Yeah.
Check this out. This slammer is a level.
Oh my gosh. I bet you. I'm going to bet you money that is not really a slammer originally. I wonder if he popped that out of a level
And used it.
and used it.
Maybe.
Anyway, I didn't get into Pogs.
Look, Ma, more cavities.
I didn't understand it really. I thought as a game it was
Pointless.
yeah, it was just but there
This
you
was
go.
a flying saucer.
I had friends that were into it.
It was so short lived. It lasted like less than a year.
It was like my 7th grade year and that was
It
it.
just brought back memories of being at our local shop, at that time,
Yeah.
in the old mall that's no longer around.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's the 90s wrapped up in one coin right
the
there.
holographic
The
moon.
holographic coin right there.
I did have some comic Pogs that had like
the ones that you'd punch out yourself.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
because they were coming in everything.
It was kind of like spinners. Like, you know how spinners were super short lived too.
yeah.
Yeah, but those are more just solo thing. It wasn't like communal
This
thing.
one even has like a place to put your fingers.
Yeah.
Try it.
Hold this slammer.
Oh, that is weird.
There's like one of these that like feel how heavy that one is.
Yeah, that's the
By
other
the way.
90s one.
That's another one that has like
Nin-
the X-Men
90s in a coin.
The
90s.
Fatal Attractions hologram.
Yeah.
So you asked me what my first game system was. So now part of this I need to predicate is I had a brother who was 11 years older than I was. And so I did inherit stuff from when he was littler. So we had an Odyssey 2 was actually our first video game console. I don't know that most people have even heard of the Odyssey 2.
Only because of Ready Player One.
Yes. So it was made by Magnavox, which was Sears.
Yep.
And yeah, it was a competitor to the Atari. Now, the first console we purchased after I was born was a was a normal NES. So,
That's a Marvel Pogs.
I think I was 8 when I finally I saved up my money to buy it. Because I'm pretty sure that console was like $300. I'm pretty sure it was like $300 when we were
I feel like
kids.
game consoles and video game prices have been the same.
It's just
since
inflation.
Well,
No, like
no,
like
it's been pretty
this-
similar.
like Paperboy was $50 when we were kids.
Well, video games are $70 now.
Yeah, I was
wow.
about to say they did just go up.
Yeah, video games are about
like,
$70
But
now.
still, that's $10 in how many years? You know?
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like comics. You know, a lot of people complain about the price of comics. Comics actually need to go up in price based on.
yeah.
You know, like in the '90s, they were $2 by the late '90s. They're $4 now, but they've been $4 since like 2012.
Yeah. For about
And
10
yeah.
years now.
DC's got a little out of hand with the $6 B covers, but
I do remember they were charging for digital edition. They were
yeah, they
up,
would charge that extra buck.
they were
Yeah.
upcharging for digital
and
for a
I
while.
think the DC
That is not a
books-
slammer. That was out of a level.
DC books still don't come with digital
Think you're right.
codes.
I think so. I think he popped it out and was just using it as a. I mean, it's creative. Like, good on him for.
I like it.
It's your favorite
I'm
one.
gonna
And
make
it's
a necklace out of it.
just a level.
Freaking Flava Flav.
So yeah, I had a Nintendo. I did not have a Super Nintendo. I didn't buy another console until the PlayStation 1.
We went from Super Nintendo to PlayStation 1.
Yeah.
That's what we didn't have game.
I have no clue what that is.
I didn't know what that was. I thought it went to the ARM. Does it not go to the ARM?
I'll have to Google that. So we had Nintendo, and then we went to Super Nintendo,
Mhm.
and then we went to
PlayStation.
PlayStation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember having the original PlayStation.
Because we got Nintendo for Christmas like the year it came out.
Yeah, like I remember having the gray gun. We had
The original gray
the
colored.
original gray.
Yeah.
We had that now. Be millionaires.
I love that. I love the click.
Did you know Duck Hunt was a 2-player game?
Uh-huh.
Who knew? You could actually do stuff.
Yeah. I mean, of course, I cheap played it. I just stuck that gun straight up on the TV and just.
I mean, that's the only way it felt accurate.
It really was. Yeah.
So Darren got a Nintendo today, a
Super
64,
Nintendo, an N64, a Dreamcast.
I mean, it's literally just over a decade worth of Nintendo
Yeah.
consoles.
Because Dreamcast would have come out right at 2000.
And Dreamcast was Sega.
Yeah.
So-
Well, but didn't
So Sega was
Forgot Nintendo took
you had the Sega Master System, which was the Nintendo competitor. You had the Genesis, which was the Super Nintendo competitor. You had the Saturn, which was the PlayStation 1 competitor,
Yep.
and then the Dreamcast is the PS2 Xbox competitor.
Yeah. Didn't last long.
By the way,
No, it got
that
killed.
shit is dirty.
Yeah, I was wondering what was all over my hand. earlier.
Ew, that's gross. So yeah, so you bought a bunch of 90s stuff. So it got me thinking. Like, to be a geek now was not to be a geek when we were kids.
Right.
We we suffered for what we loved. So the discussion is there are things that are geeky, like video games. Like, a lot of kids our age, geek or not, were into video games. Like,
So-
I don't think that was exclusive to just nerds.
So I think like the evolution of nerddom is, like we had to be closet geeks when we were kids. Video games you were allowed to play because going to the arcade and video games were cool.
Yeah, video games were
But
always
comics and collectible cards and all that
Pogs.
stuff was a secret. But it's almost like, if you really think about it, back in the 90s, girls didn't play video games.
Yeah.
Now that stigma's gone as well, and they play video games and they do all the stuff that we do. It's just, in the 90s, it was improper to do a lot of the things that we did. And it's like, we grew up, had kids, and we won. Like, we
I
rule
mean,
the world now.
Well, yeah,
All the nerds won.
That's
Be-
pretty much how it is.
because we are the market share.
We all got real jobs.
Yeah. It's interesting though that, it's like you said. So back probably middle school, which again, like I said, I had an older brother who was a geek. So he had his Commodore 64 and he'd program on it, and we had, a ton of games for it and stuff, and he was into a lot of geeky things. So I kind of inherited that from him. So that was normal to me. But then we'd go into school. Yeah, you're right. You didn't really read comics at school. You totally got made fun of for playing Magic in the lunchroom. That was just the dorkiest thing you could possibly do. I mean, there are dorky things that we didn't do back then, like LARPing. I don't know that was really a thing.
6th grade, we would go play Power Rangers out in the.
Yes,
But by 7th grade, you didn't do it anymore.
Did you have a comprehensive set of rules and regulations on how you dress and make your weapons?
LARPing's still weird to me, and I'm 41.
Trust me.
Like it's not like I know a lot of LARPers. It is a way of life. It's almost a religion for some of those guys. Like it is that intense.
Yeah.
Like it's not just, hey, let's go hit each other and dress up like knights this Sunday. It's all like they have like events that I don't know. It's just their own culture.
Your full character the whole time. It's not like you're in and out of something.
So let me ask you this: what was the dorkiest thing you did in middle school that if the rest of the school found out, you would or did find out, that you would have been or were mortified when everybody found out?
So for me, I straight up didn't care. I sold. I was like a peddler of things. I was an entrepreneur in middle school. I was selling pogs, trading cards, superhero stuff, comic books. I would draw and sell them because that was my currency to buy more comic books. I never hid away from what I was.
Yeah.
I was always, this is just who I am. I also didn't have a girlfriend in my junior year of high school, so, and that probably had a lot to do with it, but I didn't care because I've always just done the things that I enjoyed. I would take my comics with me. I read them at lunch. I played Magic. None of that mattered to me, ever.
Yeah.
Like, when I picked up comics in the 5th grade, from that point on, people knew I read comics.
I would say I was pretty open about most of the dorky things I was into. D&D was probably the one that didn't really transport to school because you just couldn't do that at school. There's just no way to do that.
I do have one.
Okay. That would probably be one that I would have been, probably super ridiculed over, and which is funny because fast forward, 30 years later, holy crap, is D&D mainstream now.
Yeah.
And it is freaking everywhere.
Yeah, everybody wants to try
Stranger
it,
Things can
do
be
it.
thought about that.
Stranger Things, well, but I mean, Critical Role, and it's just everywhere now.
Well, and I don't think Stranger Things, that nerdum, would be as appreciated as it is right now if it wasn't for all the other stuff that's laid down that groundwork. With, of course, like saying age group, of all the people that are adults now that are spending that money, and then also, of course, all the other nerd movies and stuff like that have also come before it. So
Yeah.
that's definitely laid all that out.
So here's my thing.
Yeah.
So in 4th, 5th, 6th grade, I was tall. And we had a stepdad.
I like how you says past tense, like he's not still tall.
So because my stepdad was always traveling, my mom made me learn square dancing.
Yeah.
So I had to go, and like she would sew all of our clothes for it, or for all mine, because no one else had to suffer through this but me.
I have photos of in those things.
Yeah. So like pink polka dotted shirt that would match her pink polka dotted dress for square dancing.
Oh gosh.
And, so yeah, that's.
Well, here's the thing.
That's why you didn't.
Was
care
that
about
something
people
you
knowing
was
read
that something
comics.
you liked doing?
I mean, every now and then one of the old 800-year-old women would bring their granddaughter that was my age, but mostly it was me.
Yeah.
At like 10 and 11 years old, and the average age after that was 3,000 years old.
you skewed the demographic quite a bit.
They had to vote me in, and I only got in because I was tall.
You were bringing down the average.
Oh my gosh. How tall were you in 4th, 5th, 6th grade?
I mean, probably already 5'6" ish, 5'5".
Wow. Dang.
I've always been. I didn't hit 6 feet until I turned 18.
Yeah, I was about to say he actually.
I grew a lot between
Mhm.
18 and 21. So, but I was always. I was born 11 pounds. I've never been a small human.
Yeah, I think your hand's 11 pounds now.
No,
He's got little baby hands.
I
It's like Deadpool's.
have little Deadpool hands.
Deadpool's
Little-
regenerative hands.
What was it? Adam always said Whopper Jr. hands.
Oh, that's old.
So that was my thing. Like I never told anybody like about square dancing in
Yeah.
middle school and high school because that was the one thing I was ashamed of.
I would say my parents drug me to embarrassing things, but no, nothing like that. I can tell you that right now. Yeah. No, we were like my brother and I think to an extent we were a disappointment to my dad. And the fact that my dad is a huge car guy. And so he drag raced, he restored cars, and cars were cool, right? And my brother and I, like, we appreciate nice cars, but we're not car guys. We don't want to be in the shop working on them. And it's that irony, right? That you have sons and you want your sons to be into what you're into, and they're not going to. He ended up spawning just 2 uber dorks, which he spawned one uber dork, and that uber dork ended up indoctrinating the younger one in, right? Because I credit a lot of my geeky nerdness to my brother.
So really, you should just tell your dad it's your brother's fault.
It was.
I think it was just in your DNA. I think all men need hobbies. Your dad's hobbies, cars.
Yeah.
I don't think you would have ever been. I don't see you ever being a car guy.
I mean, I would help him. And I would say I have a general understanding.
I have a general understanding of what cars used to be.
Then that's true.
I look in one now and I'm like,
oh yeah, they're computers now.
Yeah.
Which I mean, you and I had the discussion the other day that like all the new fangled stuff that's coming out in EVs right now.
Yeah.
Like they literally could do that in gas powered cars.
Yeah. EVs get all the cool
There's the power plant means nothing. They could do all these super smart features in any vehicle. They just want to incentivize.
I want a
EVs.
dashboard from window to window that does all the cool stuff.
Yeah, in a gas powered vehicle, but they won't do it because
Yeah.
they're trying to phase them out, right?
They're never gonna phase out gas powered.
Kevin Bacon said just do it.
Yeah.
I don't care what Kevin Bacon said.
He also said you should dance.
So
His
Chris,
daughter's annoyance is why I don't care what Kevin Bacon says.
so what were some so Pogs were a thing. What are some geeky stuff we were into that did not make it out of?
I
the
will say
90s.
for me, because I was late 90s.
Yeah.
Because I'm younger. All the stuff was starting to kind of get cool. Spider-Man, X-Men movies were coming out when I was going into middle school. For me, something I didn't want anybody to know that I was doing was Pokemon. Because that was like 6th grade for me. And I was like, and we'd play it at Big Apple, but then I was like, no, I don't want to play this. I just want to play like Warhammer or something that's like more the older guys.
Yeah, that
part
was
of it.
okay. Warhammer was not more macho.
No, but it was all older
was
guys. Only the kids were playing Pokemon at the time. But even like at school, nobody was talking about the fact they were playing Pokemon, right? So I would say that for me would be the one nerd thing, right?
I will
And
say
I didn't let anybody know I played Warhammer at school either.
Yeah.
So
I will say
Chris was also a jock who that plays a big part.
I
in
didn't
that.
I didn't do any of that stuff till I got into high school.
I do remember being a middle schooler and high schooler going to the game store. The adults that were there were super dorks.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
I wanna think I'm
normal looking guys coming
Yeah.
with comic book stores now. I'm like,
I want to think I'm not that dorky. I
So,
maybe am.
I'd like to take pictures from like back 20 years ago or 30 years ago when we were at Big Apple Comics and compare them to what we look like today
Oh yeah.
and see if we actually look like what we saw back then and we just we're not aware of it yet.
Yeah.
I just think it's funny. I saw a little video, a little reel. It was like somebody came up to me the other day and said that people look at us like we looked at people in the '60s, and he's like, that math doesn't work.
Oh yeah, it does. somebody the other
It's like no.
somebody I was at we have like a whiskey group that meets, and one of the guys was telling me he's like what year were you born? And I said 1980. He's like, okay, the year you were born, you were closer to the end of World War II than you are to now. And like,
Did you punch him right in his gullet?
like that just
So
trips me out.
let's cover another thing. And I was talking to Kevin about this the other day. We are about 10 to 12 years away from a 100-year anniversary of the Great Depression.
Oh.
We're about to live in the 30s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do
We're-
think
no,
about that actually a
We're
lot.
in the 20s now.
Great Depression started in 29, so we're only
Oh yeah,
we're only 6 years
we're
away.
6 years away
Yeah.
from 100 years from the Great Depression.
Yeah, that's
We live in the 20s.
and they're not roaring this time.
Yeah.
We hit the Depression early.
Here soon they're going to
Earlier
have
this season.
museums around. It's like, see what it was like to live in the 1900s, and we're going to be like, shut your mouth, because I'm still alive.
It floors me that like our kids, none of our kids saw the 20th century.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Like it just, it trips me out.
We think about old cowboy movies and stuff like that, and like they're in the 1800s. They're going to be making like,
I just can't.
it's going to be so weird.
I hope I'm still
1900
alive.
timepiece movies.
Yeah,
I hope I'm still alive when they decide to make a comedy about 2020.
right.
I just hope I'm still here so I can go watch that and go. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, it'll happen. It'll happen quick. So I was trying to think like Pogs are one thing. I'm having a hard time. Like I think most of the geeky stuff I was into has stayed popular. Video games. I was into video games, comics, tabletop games, and
So
sci-fi movies and stuff.
Trading cards are pretty.
I would say this replaced trading. I mean, trading card games pretty much trumped this.
Yeah,
right?
trading cards kind of killed Pogs because it was
Yeah.
That's
Pogs
true.
and then trading cards. But trading cards right now is a very niche thing. Sports cards were real big in the 80s and 90s and then died off for like 20 years and then got big again.
Mm-hmm.
The yo-yo comes. I mean, we should be right around
yo-yos.
for a resurgence of the yo-yo again.
Mm-hmm.
It comes around about every 10 years.
Yeah.
There's also the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was huge in the 90s, and then just kind of died off for about 20 years. Power Rangers, I know it's been on for 30 years, but like after the core group of characters were all done, I mean,
It hasn't been as mainstream.
yeah, it's not a mainstream thing anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, all those Power Rangers that played the early days are making bank now because of nostalgia. I mean, nostalgia is what is driving the comic market today. All that stuff from the 80s and 90s that we grew up with and now we can afford to buy. Like, I buy Transformers for no other reason that we couldn't afford when I was a kid.
Right.
I'm like, I want that. And
Yeah.
others like, that's $100.
Yeah. Well, and you're seeing it in just normal TV shows now too. There's so many reboots.
Mhm.
Like apparently Night Court is
That-
huge.
that
Like
thing
supposedly,
looks terrible.
but apparently it's already gotten picked up for another season. Like and the Roseanne reboot. Like it's
So, but I'll
that's
say
called canceled, right? I think it's called canceled.
what do you mean?
The Roseanne.
It changed to the Connors.
No,
and
no,
it
no.
is still on.
She has her own new show
Yeah, she has
coming
her-
out called Canceled.
yeah.
Oh, does she really?
Yeah,
That's hilarious.
yeah. I don't know. It's on one of the streaming platforms.
Yeah, of course it is.
So, like Magnum PI and all these things that are coming back, I never watched those as a kid. I watched a little bit of Quantum Leap.
I remember like what Murder She Wrote. Like those are the like
Yeah, but we didn't
old
watch that.
yeah,
That's
I
like
just remember they were there.
It was on
you
because
heard
your
that-
parents
you-
were watching
You
it.
heard that
Yeah.
theme song for Murder She Wrote, and you go next channel.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Andy Griffin Show, which was already old when we were kids.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I wonder when they're going to bring that back.
What's funny is what we were watching in the 90s. Andy Griffith Show was probably 30 years old.
Mhm.
Guess what? All the stuff we watched is now 30 years
Well,
old.
think about Star Trek.
Yeah.
It was in the 1960s.
Mhm.
We're like 60 years, 50 years, however the math works.
Mm-hmm.
It's insane that, like,
Yeah. But we're still geeks.
I hate this topic.
What I think is interesting is if I go back to 12-year-old me and saying, you know what's going to be really popular when you're older? Dungeons and Dragons. I'm going to be like, bullshit, it will.
I just got hit in the face for having a D&D book. What are you
exactly.
talking about?
or you're going to be cool for owning a comic book store.
Yeah. Somebody's going to slam. Yeah, every
So-
time. I don't know. It's still every time somebody asks Sabrina, what's your husband do? He runs a comic book. It's just and it's not that she's ashamed of it. She's just like, she knows what people are going to, oh, okay.
You didn't-
It's
you
like one of
didn't-
those things.
You did an interview with the mayor, and she was just like, y'all do what?
Yeah. Yeah, the mayor was like very, very impressed with our operation. So I think it kind of surprised her.
if you really want to feel old, we're into what, year 15 of the MCU, right? Year
Yes.
15, and we've got another 5, 10 years still left on it, right? I didn't have kids when it started.
Oh wow. Yeah, my oldest was 4 when the MCU started. 20
Well,
no, 09.
It started in 2008.
2008. Okay, she was 2. Sorry.
2008. I did not have children. I had only been married for like less than a year.
Dang.
Like that's how old we're getting. We're 15. All of my kids were not. None of my kids were born when Iron Man came out.
And you know what? You know what made the time go by so freaking fast? Is we were waiting on the next damn MCU movie.
Next MCU, Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, Hobbit, whatever it was. That's what.
Like
It's not like that anymore.
We want time to speed up so we can see these things, and then we look back and we're like, oh crap.
I remember thinking I better be alive when the freaking Avengers stuff is over. That's all I cared. Is like I just want to know how this ends. And then now it keeps going. I'm like I don't care because Phase 4 has not been very good.
I think it's been fine.
There's none of the movies that I've wanted to go back and watch in theaters a second time.
I think that's just character breakdown. I think the movies have been fine.
Well, here's the thing: is when did Infinity War? Let's see, Infinity Saga ended in 19.
Yeah, 2019.
So the MCU was already 11. It took 11 years to get from A to B.
Mhm.
Right.
It hasn't been 11 years, and we're wanting that next thing, and so we're not patient enough to wait another 11 years.
I think it's been fine. I think it's just the fact that they literally have to
develop new characters.
They have to do all that, and I think that as much crap as we give DC about not doing that, Marvel's really good at doing it. But at the same time, it's like they got to figure all these people out. Like people keep saying that that it was quantity over quality for Marvel, but I think everything that they've put out so far has been good. I just think that the characters aren't the characters that you wanted.
Eternals is crap.
Both fine. Black Panthers have been.
But to a lot of people, they were amazing.
That's because Darren's racist.
No, I'm not. I mean, I didn't care for Doctor Strange either.
That's because you don't like British people.
Okay, so now I'm just.
Hey, London, we'll be there in April. If you want to punch Darren in his face, call him a wanker, you can do it.
Darren hates Bendy Straw Cracker Jack.
I don't know what he just said to me.
Benedict Cumberbatch.
Oh, okay.
Bendy Straw Cracker Jack. You've never heard that?
No.
It's like somebody going through like all the different ways you can mispronounce Benedict Cumberbatch.
That was one of them.
Bendy Straw Cracker Jack, and that's just the one that stuck with me. That's what I call him all the time. Yeah, I think of all the MCU stuff, I think Eternals is probably the only one that I'm like, no, Thor: The Dark World, I can't stand that one either.
Yeah, and that one just had a whole lot of fallout in the background that messed that.
Yeah.
I will say that to your topic of what didn't survive, there was a lot of game systems that didn't survive the 90s, like Jaguar.
Oh, yeah, sure.
There was a lot of like things that were trying to be something that died off, but most of the things that died off were game stuff.
Yeah.
Now,
I will say there are video game genres that didn't make it out of the 90s. Like real-time strategy games didn't make it out of the early 2000s, but there's StarCraft's still around a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But there were definite trends of games that didn't make it.
Techno Bowl.
I love Techno Bowl.
You don't even like football, but you love Techno Bowl.
All you had to do was do a flea flicker pass and just zigzag down the damn field. Score every time.
What was I watching? I was watching something, and I think it was a Family Guy short where they were playing Techno Ball, and one of them had Bo Jackson.
Yep.
And you couldn't tackle Bo Jackson.
Yeah. Bo does not know how to go down on the field. I always played the Giants because they were like one of the best teams in that Tecmo Super Bowl, because that was the year after they had won the Super Bowl. So the Bills and the Giants were like the two best teams in the game.
Yep.
And flea flicker pass, and then all you got to do is zigzag Baker down the field, and you're scoring.
I mean, even that's weird to think of. Like Madden's been around since 92 or 93?
About that time, yeah.
They went through and watched the 23-year progression of Tom Brady's character in Madden. It was crazy.
Yeah. Him and LeBron James both. I mean, as long as they've both been around, and their game systems, like to see how, like from pixelated little dudes to like full blown. It looks like you're almost watching the actual person play the game. It's just
Yeah.
it's weird.
I think that LeBron James is like younger than me and you, but he has been
Not by much, though.
He's like 38.
Yeah.
He's 38.
So to just think he's been a staple in basketball for like 20 years now.
Yeah.
It's crazy to think he has played like it's been Tom Brady and like the LeBron James for 20 plus years.
Well, I look at the NHL. There's only 20 players in the NHL my age or older.
There's actually players still playing in their 40s.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's better than most other sports.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll have basketball players that play into their 40s because there's been quite a few over the last few years, but they're never like a. It's usually like, oh, that guy still plays.
I
Like
think
it's not like a known guy.
NFL wise, it's positional, right?
Yeah,
A running back is
No,
like,
running
has like a
backs
three.
die at 30.
Yeah, they have like a 3-year lifespan before they're just
Here lately,
done.
quarterbacks have been getting there quite a bit more, and then but before that, it was really like place kickers.
Yeah.
Yeah, kickers played into their 40s. Now, linemen would always play for a long time.
Yeah, they'd play up into
Which-
offensive linemen.
Yeah, which is crazy because they get so abused in the game.
Yeah.
But they would play into their late 30s. There was a quarterback, I want to say it was Vinny Testaverde who
Yeah,
played into
he played
his
to
40s.
mid 40s almost.
He played against, he was a Cowboys quarterback at the time, and he got hit. And the joke then was he's still laying on the field a year later dead.
Brett Favre played forever.
Yeah, Brett
Yeah.
Favre.
But Tom Brady's 45, and he said he was going to play till he's 45, so it didn't really it makes sense that he's retiring now because he got there officially. So
Yeah.
But
Greg Olson.
yeah, well, for another
How
year,
did a geek topic just transition to
You
freaking
started
sports?
Madden happened.
No, you said Tecmo Bowl.
Yeah, and then it got to Madden.
Yeah. No, you started it.
You
Thanks.
start. No, you brought up topic of players, and Chris actually said LeBron James and Tom Brady, and so it's Chris's fault.
Anyway.
They've been around since almost the.
Yeah. Like that's about it. Like it's just crazy to me that because we have checkbooks now, all the things we love are just back. Or I mean, honestly, like video games never went away.
That's
They've been
something that kids these days are going to. What's a check?
Right. Why do I have to wait for a television show to come on?
Yeah.
They don't.
Instant gratification is my life.
All right, everyone. Well, thank you for joining us for the podcast. We will be back next Thursday. Yes, because I got late tickets to Ant-Man so that we could still do the podcast. Did y'all?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I haven't bought my ticket.
Okay. And so we will still do the podcast. So if you do want to join us live, we are live Thursday evenings at 7 p.m. Central, and you can catch us on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch for the video live. If you are watching us live and you missed us one week and you want to go back and listen to us, you can watch us again on YouTube. And then, of course, you can also listen to the audio version wherever you digest podcast. Make sure to hit up our YouTube channel. We have great content over there. We have Sarah's final order cutoff videos that you can see the top 5 books that you need to pre-order that week. And then also This Week at Unknown, where I show off all of the books that we released and are going to be releasing for the next week, all of our exclusive covers. And there's a chance you could win some stuff. So definitely keep up with us there. Of course, you can always catch us at unknowncomicbooks.com. Well, thank you for joining us. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time.